Tonight, NDC minority launches scathing attack on COCOBOD, accusing it of peddling falsehood with contrived face-saving messages, revealing what they claim to be a rejection by International Banks of COCOBOD's attempts to raise the cocoa syndicated loan. The first time this is happening in 32 years. We have the latest in what the minority is describing as a cocoa crisis. And Top Story is always brought to you by Telecel, connecting energies, holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. And tonight, the minority NDC, they've launched a scathing attack on COCOBOD, accusing it of peddling falsehood with contrived and face-saving messages, revealing that international banks across the world have, for the first time in 32 years, rejected COCOBOD's attempt to raise the syndicated loan. Now, we are receiving a statement now from the minority on this particular matter, and it follows a press conference that was addressed yesterday by the CEO of COCOBOD, in which he announced that COCOBOD by themselves had taken a decision to borrow locally instead of going to international banks to raise what they require for the next crop season. This is a report from that press conference.
Speaking at a press briefing, Chief Executive Joseph Boyne-Edu said there's an elaborate plan to win COCOBOD off loans with high interest rates from offshore lenders. He emphasized that it is not financially prudent for COCOBOD to continue relying on loans from international banks when it has the capacity to directly raise money from the country at a relatively cheaper rate to buy the beans.
I will say that for the first time in the history of Ghana COCOBOD, COCOBOD wants to win itself from the offshore syndication. We want to be self-financing. Since 1992, COCOBOD has been going offshore to borrow from a syndication of banks, or a consortium of banks. And 32 years, I think, is quite a good time for any human being to learn his or her lessons. 32 years, we've learned our lessons, and we think that it's high time, we weaned ourselves from the offshore international financial market, and then, finance the crop.
Mr. Boyne-Edu insisted that COCOBOD can self-finance its operations and purchases, provided all the proceeds it will accrue to the government of Ghana for other developmental projects. Defending the decision, he stressed that MOVE has received all the support of major stakeholders in the sector to make the farmer the ultimate beneficiary in the value chain.
We've studied the market for the longest while, and we've come to understand the market. I'm not a trader, but right now when I'm speaking, you might think that I'm a trader, because we've come to understand all the intricacies in the market, and not just the trade, but even the financials, And you all agree that if you've been doing syndication for 32 years, do you have to continue to be in the same situation? You don't change. You don't change. I don't think so. You have to change. So now we've taken the decision that we've studied everything and come to the conclusion that it's time for us to change. And last year we were, if anything, it was even last year when we started. How come last year we went to the traders? So it's not that maybe it's out of desperation no. Last 2 years, those who followed my stories, last 2 years I was in the Gulf. looking for money.
Meanwhile, Mr. Buainedu announced that the 2024-2025 crop season will start from 1st September this year.
Well, in the last couple of hours, the minority had issued a statement revealing that the decision announced by the CEO, which you just listened to there, is one that was imposed by the rejection of COCOBOD's attempts to raise a syndicated loan by international banks. And joining me in the studio with details of this is my colleague Kojo Briggs, who is with me here. And Kojo, the minority is claiming that international banks did reject COCOBOD's request for a prepayment loan to finance the purchase of the cocoa this year. The first time this has happened in 32 years.
Yes. Now, according to the minority, in June 2024, COCOBOD issued a request for proposal of up to 1.5 billion loan to purchase up to 650,000 metric tons of cocoa for the 2024-2025 crop year. But this request did not attract any interest from the international banks. Due to the poor health of COCOBOD and the collapse of the cocoa sector under its present management. They say that from a production level of 969,000 metric tons inherited from the NDC in the 2016-2017 crop year, cocoa production has declined to just a little over 400,000 metric tons for the 2023-2024 cocoa season. The significant decline in cocoa production in the last 8 years and the mismanagement of the cocoa sector have impacted COCOBOD's ability to meet its contractual obligations. Now, they go ahead to say that COCOBOD is therefore unable to supply about 250,000 metric tons of cocoa and has resorted to the rollover of its contractual obligation due to the poor management of the cocoa sector, which has resulted in significant decline in cocoa production under the NPP government.
Well, they claim also that COCOBOD was chased away.
Yeah, I mean, they say that COCOBOD is owing. They made several losses amounting to some 11 billion Ghana cedis under this present management, and that's why no bank wants to do business with them. Now he says, I mean, because of that, nobody is interested in doing business with COCOBOD. So they say that this announcement of COCOBOD that it has taken a bold decision not to borrow from foreign banks to finance cocoa purchases after 32 years is false, unmeritorious, contrived, and face-saving. This is to hide the fact that COCOBOD is no longer credit-worthy and that a 32-year-old tradition, which has consistently cushioned and provided Ghana's economy with the most reliable foreign exchange to support the Ghana cedi, has been destroyed by the Akufo-Addo government. Ghana's cocoa sector is in crisis, they say, needs urgent attention, competent management, and a new direction. The NPP government has completely mismanaged and destroyed the cocoa sector. After 7 years of declining production and consecutive losses, the government has shown clearly that it does not have the competence to manage the cocoa sector, which has since independence been the mainstay of the Ghanaian economy. Evans.
And that is why this is a major subject indeed. Sure. And we've tried to reach out to the COCOBOD themselves. They indeed responded and that they were trying to get us some clarity from there. We're still hoping that we'll get that clarity. So this decision that was announced by the CEO yesterday, that for the first time in 32 years, they're going to look internally for the funds they need to finance the purchase of cocoa. Was it because the banks rejected the attempts to raise the money that we've always done over the years in the what we now know as the cocoa syndicated loan? Is it because the international banks rejected it? That's why the decision was announced yesterday. Or this indeed is a policy shift, and a significant one at that, because this will mean for the very first time that, as he announced, they want to wean themselves of the loans that they contract from offshore that come at high interest rates.
Now, the minority give a specific reason why the banks are not coming on board. They say that clearly the banks came to the conclusion that out of the projected production of 650,000 metric tons of cocoa for the 2024-2025 crop year, which is doubtful, 250,000 metric tons, you remember that they said they had rolled over that, will be used to service existing rolled over contract. You remember that they said earlier that because COCOBOD cannot produce it, they've been rolling over, leaving only 400,000 metric tons to honor COCOBOD's obligation for the 2024-2025 crop year. This raised the ability to pay, the question for the banks. Hence, their refusal to not to participate, because the banks doubted that if they lend to COCOBOD, COCOBOD will be able to pay, and that's why they're staying out, because they know that there's some rollover of some 250,000 metric tons that they have to do. That's why the bank said, no, we're staying out. And that's according to the minority.
I want to bring in Dr. Godfred Desiree Gisao. He's a deputy ranking member of Food and Cocoa Affairs Committee in Parliament. Also joining us is Nana Bonsu. He's the president of the Concerned Farmers Association. We're still hoping to get COCOBOD's clarity on the accusation by the minority that the attempts to get this loan, the syndicated loan, is because international banks rejected the attempts that we made and the requests that we placed before them. When we get that, we'll get that clarity for you. But I want to bring in Dr. Gisao now. Doc, thanks for your time here on Top Story. Your claim is that this is because the banks rejected the request by COCOBOD. The CEO spoke to this yesterday. He says this is an independent decision they've taken, and it's a policy shift to wean ourselves of these international loans that come at high interest rates.
Ivan, thank you very much for the opportunity, and good evening to your listeners. I think that the claim by the CEO of COCOBOD is disingenuous because just 2 months ago in June, COCOBOD actually did float a request for proposal for financing these pitches of $1.5 million. Now, what is the evidence that it is a policy shift now? Is it just in the last 60, 30 days that they've shifted the policy? No. The truth is that they have gone out to seek for this financing in the syndicated loan. They've gone out to seek for syndication, and they have not had any positive response. And so clearly, I have evidence that they are in talks with local traders to be able to raise the financing to purchase the cocoa.
I mean, that has been reported. That has been reported. Yes, that has been reported by Reuters and Bloomberg. They are looking to raise the financing from Olam and Barry Callebaut. But
exactly.
But Dr. Gisao, the evidence though over the last few years show that the rate at which we are borrowing for this syndicated loan is becoming, honestly, simply untenable. Last year, it was 8% interest on the loan that we took. Isn't it time to adopt a different approach to this?
So, Ivan, you see, loans will become expensive as a function of the risk that is associated with taking the loan. And in the last 7 years in particular, it's been increasingly riskier to advance money to COCOBOD because COCOBOD has consistently recorded losses. And this has been authenticated by the Auditor General's report in the last 7 years. And so no financial institution will just go ahead and advance loans to you with a low risk cost. And so what is happening is that, of course, the loans have become expensive. It's a natural function of the kind of risk that COCOBOD has endeared to us. And so that is why you see that the loans have become costly. But I'm saying to you that it's also that the risk is higher because production of cocoa has been reducing in the country, even though COCOBOD has claimed that they are investing in productivity improvement projects.
But largely, if you read international reports on why the production is dwindling, they attribute it to climate factors. For example, we are talking about some 650,000 tons this year, which is the target, which is a significant reduction from what we even had last year. And you read a report say the diseases have become a factor, but also climate has become a challenge.
Climate change as a factor in the decline of cocoa production is not in doubt. But again, in the last 4 years at least, there have been a proactive arrangement that was available to COCOBOD to take advantage on and invest in productivity improvement programs and projects that factors in the climate change phenomenon. For example, there was a loan of $600 million from the African Development Bank that is supposed to be used in investing in irrigation agriculture for cocoa. Now, they could not draw down all the money because they simply couldn't manage. There was no evidence that they could manage the money in a way that would let them continue to benefit for our cocoa farming. And so only 350,000, only 350 million dollars was drawn down. The 250 could not be drawn down by COCOBOD because they simply didn't have a management capacity to draw down that money and spend it on irrigation agriculture. So the pilot irrigation projects that were all dotted around the cocoa farms were abandoned. This is one way that we could have ensured that productivity continued to improve even in the changing climate. Again, seedlings, barrel-borne cocoa farms were destroyed by the same COCOBOD. It was a management decision. It has nothing to do with the environment or climate change. Now you destroy these farms, and then you don't supply cocoa seedlings to these farmers to replant.
When you say destroy, when you say destroy the farms,
you couldn't even provide the cocoa plantain sake.
I mean,
for
Dr.
them
Giselle,
to be able to support this region.
when you say destroy the farms, why will COCOBOD destroy farms?
Yes, so they are described as moribund farms. If they are too old, they are being attacked by CFCDB, the cocoa shoulder shoot disease.
But that is standard practice.
If there's a problem.
But that's standard practice in the sector, is it not?
I'm sorry.
That is standard practice in the sector, is it not? If you have a moribund farm.
Yes, if you have a standard a moribund farm, the practice is that you destroy it, but you don't destroy and leave it. You destroy it and replant to regenerate. Otherwise, your cocoa stocks begin to decline. And once they begin to decline, the output of your cocoa sector will generally go down. And so you take active, conscious efforts to ensure that the farms you destroy are replaced in a way that they continue to produce. This doesn't happen in this case. Because it didn't happen, there was a shortfall. Plus, Galamsey managed. And so Galamsey also began to go eat into our cocoa production base.
So you
but
say...
That's with me, Ivan. The very truth of this matter is that COCOBOD has not shifted in any conscious policy to source money locally. COCOBOD simply is unable to source money externally.
Well, you say that COCOBOD disputes that claim. But let me ask you this. Fundamentally, we've heard the CEO, if you give him the benefit of the doubt, isn't this a sound policy? Self-financing is a policy that they want to now embark on. And he says it will save the regulator $150 million.
Ivan, that's not entirely correct because, you have cocoa production deficit. You are now sourcing local traders $500 million to buy the cocoa. What that means is that those particular cocoa beans you buy, you have an obligation to forward sell them to specific trading companies. So it doesn't give you any leeway or leverage to be able to say X percentage of what you buy will be sold on spot market prices to be able to rake in the needed liquidity to run your COCOBOD. So you're already tied to where you must sell, at what price, and in what quantity. Plus, the quantities that they even have now, and my committee made COCOBOD just 2 weeks ago, the quantities they have now is 435,000 metric tons. And there's already a shortfall. We put on to 250,000 metric tons as a shortfall that they cannot even supply to the buyers from last year's sale. But truthfully, the figures actually show more than that. It's 350,000 metric tons. So frankly, Evans, it's a dire situation. And I think I was expecting COCOBOD to be forthright with the information so that Ghanaians can interrogate this and sympathize. But when you try to flip it over and tell us that it's a deliberate policy shift, when really it is a demonstration of your incapacity and therefore inability to be able to source financing, I think that's disingenuous, and Ghanaians shouldn't be taken for granted on this score.
So you're saying that a self-financing arrangement isn't the way to go? It's
not the way to go because in the specific case, COCOBOD is in serious financial crisis.
But assuming
Your
for a second,
your only product, your only trump card now.
COCOBOD, no doubt, is in dire straits. But assuming that they come out of this challenging period, you're saying that we should still go back every year to the international market and borrow at significant interest rates and not have a deliberate policy where we win ourselves all of these international banks?
No, Evans, that's not what I'm saying. I'm responding
But that's my question to you.
So-called policy response at this stage. And I'm saying that in the specific case and situation that COCOBOD finds itself, with the debt reeling at it, what you need now is to have some space to be able to convert some of the beans you so pitches into spot price sales, taking advantage of the hike in prices so that you can rake in more liquidity. But if you cannot have the capacity, the appropriate collateral to be able to raise financing on the international market, you don't come and blindfold Ghanaians and tell us that you are embarking on a deliberate policy shift. That misinformation is what I need us to correct. Because if you interrogate the facts, it is not correct.
Independent
deliberate policy.
Well, independent of that concern, you support this policy for the medium to long term, even the short term, if you can.
Any policy that will wean Ghana off international obligations, international chains, like what we have ourselves really in IMF and so on, is something that any sane government should take. Unfortunately, there is a capacity of that you can embark on these or not. There's a level to which you can take these up or not. And I'm saying at this stage, it is not a deliberate policy. It is a response to the situation that COCOBOD has delved itself into.
And if you're just joining us, a developing story at COCOBOD, a historic shift, though, with the minority now insisting that this shift in policy, as announced by the COCOBOD CEO, which indicates that for the first time in 32 years, Ghana will not be going for the cocoa syndicated loan. The minority says is because international banks have rejected COCOBOD's attempts to get that prepayment loan to finance the purchase of cocoa for the very first time in 32 years. But the CEO had insisted yesterday that indeed that was a deliberate shift in policy because the government is moving to a new regime of self-financing where they look internally to raise the funds they need to purchase the cocoa and not rely on high interest rates, loans at the back by high interest rates from these international banks. I want to bring in right now Nana Bonsu, is the president of the Concerned Farmers Association, joins us on the line. Nana, thanks for your time here on Top Story. COCOBOD tells us that the new crop season will open on September 1, but the target is 650,000 tons, significantly lower than what we even did a few months back last year. And we've had a lot of challenges with the sector already. We've talked a bit about that. But for you as a farmer, what's happening? Why are we where we are?
Okay, thank you very much. The name is Farmer General. We saw this thing coming, and then this has been an issue that each and every day we do talk about it because how can we each and every day go out there just to borrow? You know, we have been borrowing for so long, and I think this is the right time for Ghana to be an independent, or for COCOBOD to be an independent, or for we to have the cocoa bank, which most of the cocoa that will be selling outside will be putting the interest or the profit.
So then, as a farmer, you support. Then, as a farmer, you support the COCOBOD CEO's announcement, the decision that they've taken to win themselves all the international loans.
It is something that we have been saying it for so long. We started saying this thing 4 years ago. That how can we be borrowing money each and every day to purchase cocoa? When it happens like that, they will be having an upper hand on our product. We do the cocoa ourselves. We get it, and there's no way in the world that you'll be producing your own product and then somebody will be determining the price for you. But if you have an upper hand on you raising your own product, you can sell it anyhow you want to sell it.
But it comes down.
It is the best way for we to have our cocoa bank so that at the end of the day we will be getting the profit to put it in to buy our own cocoa. So it is a way to go.
You are a farmer though, and so you understand this particular sector. You believe, however, that COCOBOD can find the money it needs locally, that it can actually self-finance?
Well, we have a lot of money in this country. If they are saying there's no money, I'm surprised, because looking at the campaigns that other political parties have been doing, let us ask ourselves, how much money are we putting in for our political parties and the campaigns that we are doing? How much money are we spending on a whole lot of things that we are doing? There's money in the country. Now that we are doing gold for oil and other things, there's a lot of money in the country that we can raise it to purchase the cocoa. There's money. If we have been able to raise money to build a cathedral, how can't we raise money to purchase the cocoa? So I believe that we can do that. So let us give them the benefit of the doubt just to see the way forward and see how best they can do this thing. So that at the end of the day, when they fail, they will know that fine, they fail. So the next time, this is the way to go. I think that is the best way to go, because we can't be slaved by each and every day producing cocoa, going for loans, and then at the end, they wish the cocoa farmers will be suffering. I think it is bad.
If you look at what the target is this year in terms of the tonnage, in what they're targeting to get from farmers, is a 20% reduction from what you had in the last year's crop season. What's the reason for this? Is it because of the climate change issues and the disease, or this is pure mismanagement by COCOBOD?
There are a lot of factors involved. When we are doing the identification of community challenges, we even approached COCOBOD. We came out with a lot of press statements and other things that galamsey is destroying our land. And then we even came out with a program which we even converted almost 2,500 young people that they are doing galamsey and converted them to farmers. That now even some of them are even doing the cocoa. But the thing is, Parliament itself have no value for the cocoa. Because if Parliament have serious value for cocoa, there will be a serious bill that will be pushing for nobody to touch the cocoa tree in this country. But this is the case that nobody cares about the cocoa. Nobody cares about it. They are cutting that they are giving concessions and other things for people to destroy our cocoa production or cocoa plant. And at the same time, other farmers also now feel that, fine, those that they are doing rubber are making money, so let us shift from the cocoa production and get to the rubber production.
Nana, thank you very much. And a quick word to you, Dr. Giselle. So you contradict COCOBOD CEO's reasons for this shift in policy. Clearly, there is a challenge in the sector. Is your committee, you said you've met COCOBOD already very recently, is your committee prepared to do anything beyond the concerns you've raised in this statement you put out today?
Yes. So we have just called a leadership meeting, and we want to check with COCOBOD and then agree on when we can have a quick meeting to understand why they have chosen this route and how sustainable that is. Now, Evans, just quickly to end it, I think the question we should be asking is, if COCOBOD is not going to take the external loan, where is it going to get the financing from?
But the reporting suggests that they want to go to
a management arrangement where they have been able to put in place enough financial funds themselves, or can source local funds in a way that the cost is lower than what they were otherwise going to take, and that there's a guaranteed source of that fund to be able to purchase this year's cocoa, then we're in good business. And that, you can clap hands for that policy. But if you cannot answer the question of where the financing is going to come from, and you and I already know that that financing is going to come from traders like Olam and the rest. And then when the beans come in, Olam and the rest will simply take the beans. So COCOBOD has no role anymore.
Dr. Giselle, thank you very much. And that there is Dr. Godfred Seidu Giselle, is a deputy ranking member, Food and Cocoa Affairs in Parliament. And she'll listen to us here on Joy 99.7 FM. News Night starts